welcome. I'm Roopal Patel, fashion director for Saks Fifth Avenue, and I'm so excited to be here today with two of my favorite designers who I've grown up with since the start of my career, Jack and Lazaro from Proenza Schouler. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you, Roopal.
How are you?
Very well.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Long week. It's Friday.
It's a long
This is
week.
the last thing in the week, so
Well,
we're, after this we're good.
I'm excited that we're all going to be like chilling out and getting ready for the weekend, but it's kind of interesting where we are today. We're at the Mercedes-Benz EQ Experience in New York City, and you all had a fashion show here.
We did.
Yeah.
We had our, I think it was spring 16, we had a show here.
You were probably here for that
Yeah, I'm
show.
sure you were
I
here
was
for that
totally here
show.
for
It was
that
like
show.
kind of Spanish, slightly Cuban.
It was the one with, like, the
inspired
ruffles.
show
Oh, I have
with
two
the
pieces from
ruffles.
that collection,
You do?
the white dress and the white blouse.
It was in this room.
And I believe it was kind of this spiral runway kind of thing
And it
happening.
had all these curves in it. Remember we did all these curved walls?
Yeah, which is interesting because this is all kind of curved.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that was a major show.
Yeah, remember that
That was
show?
spring
Yeah.
16.
The off the
Little
shoulder.
I
feathers
have that
and
job.
the-
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that was here.
Yeah.
What? How? It's like so much
So
has
full
changed.
circle moment.
Full circle. We're ending the week here, and so much has changed since then, right? When we think about it,
In terms of the world,
in terms of the world, in terms
everything.
of fashion, how we as an industry are designing and coming together.
yeah.
And sustainability has been a really hot topic and buzzword in our industry. And the idea of being able to bring sustainability and luxury together, you've been able to merge this idea of eco-friendly design with luxury. Can you share with me a little bit about that process and how you're going through it? So many things going on today when you're designing a collection.
I mean, look, we're not by any means like these kind of, it's something we're just kind of venturing into, and we have a lot more to learn and a lot more to explore and a lot better that we could be doing. Just a couple of years ago, I think we started bringing sustainability into the conversation, and we started kind of playing with it within our core collection. We kind of developed a core collection 2 years ago that's mostly using sustainable materials or upcycling back stock, dead stock of fabrics that we've had from previous seasons. And we like this whole idea that there's a core collection that never goes on sale, that's also sustainable. Like all those kind of ideas made sense together as a collection. We've yet to kind of dive deeper and bring it into like our show collections and whatnot. And we're kind of in the learning phases right now. So I don't want to say we're like environmentalists or that we're like doing anything crazy with sustainability, but I think it's something that you can't ignore. And being in fashion and being in an industry that's known to be one of the greater polluters in the world, it seems irresponsible to not be talking about these things.
I think COVID really kind of taught us a lot in terms of waste. Every season for every show in the past, we used to buy fabrics from Italy, mostly, and we would use some of it and not all of it, and it would just sort of sit in a warehouse, the stuff we didn't use. And then the next season we'd buy a new fresh set of fabrics for the next season. And over the years we've accumulated all this fabric that we've never used. And then COVID happened, and we had to put together a collection, that spring collection last spring. And for the first time, we're kind of forced to explore what we call dead stock fabric, our own dead stock fabric. And that was such an eye-opening experience. And we're like, why do we have to continue buying and purchasing new materials when we've already done that and there's so much there for us to use? So that entire collection, actually, we didn't buy almost any fabrics, any new materials for that collection. We used only what we had. And it was sort of one of the most successful collections we've had in a long time, both critically and commercially. And we're like, whoa. And that was sort of like an eye-opening moment. We're like, wow, this is, it worked critically and commercially, and also, it was the most sustainable thing we had ever done in scale. And it's been sort of a practice that we've carried forward and are continuing to explore in a major way. And so then this whole Mercedes-Benz conversation happened around that time. So it's sort of part of that conversation.
That's so exciting to sort of see like your natural path to sort of exploring how to use dead stock fabric and bring it into your everyday design process, how that sort of led you to connect with Mercedes-Benz in this project. And it's so interesting. You think of Mercedes-Benz luxury, they are the leaders in design and
Totally.
just again like really creating legendary, ahead of their time cars for the future. And you think of your design process as well. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the fabrics and some of the fabrics that seemed easy to sort of, when you think of Proenza Schouler and Mercedes, to merge together?
Well, I guess when we started speaking to them, I guess it was about a year ago, and I think we were in some sort of lockdown at the time. It wasn't like the first quarantine, but it was one of the ones shortly after. And so when we were starting to conceptualize what this collaboration, what this capsule was going to look like, we did love the idea of a road trip, like the idea of traveling, especially during this lockdown, felt like the ultimate freedom and the ultimate luxury. And so we kind of started building this narrative around this idea of a road trip, which made sense with the car and whatnot. So we started talking about what are pieces you would kind of carry with you on a road trip. So it was like a car code or a weekender or a keychain, obviously, a blanket. So we just started doing research into those, cashmere sweater, just like these kind of key things you'd want with you while traveling. And then we just started diving deep into, we really started with the materials because we wanted to kind of understand what it is we could do in these materials that feels super luxury, but at the same time is sustainable. So like the sweaters, for example, are made from cashmere yarns that are taken from old cashmere sweaters, shredded, respun into new yarns, and then new sweaters are knitted. And if you feel the quality of the sweaters, they're incredible. It's super luxurious, which is kind of amazing that you could get that kind of a hand feel in something that's been recycled. Same with the blanket. It's all made out of recycled cashmere.
Or the T-shirts are organic cotton T-shirts, and we did all this tie-dye. But what's toxic about a lot of clothes and in general processes is the dyeing. Dyeing can be quite toxic.
The finishings.
And the finishings and all that stuff. So we explore a lot of sort of sustainable, eco-friendly ways of dyeing garments and then tie-dyeing with those new dyes. Things like that. Also, like the leathers that we used kind of old dead stock leathers when possible, stuff that we've had or that Mercedes had. So we've kind of repurposed things that already existed, or the new stuff that we had to kind of create was sustainable tanning processes. So it's all back of house things, but we never wanted to sacrifice the luxury or the craft or the handmade element that is synonymous with us and with Mercedes-Benz. Like all the tie-dye is completely obviously done by hand. All the stitching on the bags are all handmade. And a lot of this stuff it's the same techniques, the same sort of artisanal techniques you would use in terms of like the human side of things. Like we didn't sacrifice that, but the materials that they were using to work with all came from completely sustainable sources and all that. So we didn't really sacrifice any level of quality in making any of this stuff.
No, and you can see that. I mean, you can see the collection here, and you can see the craftsmanship and that luxury that is so well known in your collections and also Mercedes-Benz. I think of I just look at the blanket, and every time you get into a Mercedes-Benz, you have like that yummy cognac leather and that dashboard and the chrome finish, which is so chic, and like that again is just a great. That takes the best of it.
Item to carry with you, right?
Love that.
Totally.
The whole thing just made sense. The whole collaboration, like, as you know, we travel a lot. After every show, we kind of go away and we travel, and that's where we get a lot of our ideas from like, just travel. And we've taken 1 million road trips and have done, perfume around the idea of a road trip. We've done Arizona. We've done collections around the idea of a road trip. And like what Jack said, when they came to us and they wanted us to kind of create a collection, the idea of a car, the idea of traveling in a car, like that was the only kind of traveling we were doing at that moment because we couldn't get on a plane. So this idea of like this road trip became just sort of like the narrative that we wanted to explore. Like there's such an iconic story, the Great American Road Trip. So that made so much sense for us, and it felt very relevant to like that specific time that we were creating that collection in.
Yeah, and the fact that the launch was kind of in line with the launch of their EQS car, which is their first electric car here in the States. it made perfect sense to do a completely sustainable collection around the launch of that car. Just seemed like the perfect marriage to us.
We only do collaborations when they kind of when they just click and make sense. Like for us, it's very obvious and kind of annoying when you see kind of two people trying to do something, but it's not quite working. We only sort of take on collaborations when they make complete sense. And this, from the very beginning, it just made sense.
No, it flows.
It's easy. It flows.
It
The flow
flows,
was
and I think
great.
that's the part which is so important. Knowing both of you for many years, and having having the having the luxury to be able to be walked through some of your inspirations by you both personally, and sharing. I know that you are very much inspired by art, by architecture, by like abstract, shall we say, like lines and linear, and
Totally.
which I always really appreciate. And I'm curious in this collaboration, this process, because it's a car, right? It's a car. How did Mercedes-Benz, again, like luxury and like the ultimate in design in the world of cars, like how did that vibe? Like how did that collaboration and that process go?
I think one of the first elements too that we were kind of thinking about was, like you said, we look at a lot of art. Art is something that we live with and we collect and we are very much inspired by, and it sort of, I don't know, a lot of the time it leads the process. And when we started this, we were thinking like Mercedes-Benz and like what are the icons of Mercedes-Benz and what are our icons and what are we interested in. And for sure, for us, the monogram, that Mercedes-Benz monogram was the symbol, was Mercedes-Benz. Like that was for us like the most iconic thing, and it is the most iconic thing of Mercedes-Benz. And then we were kind of looking at a lot of like Ellsworth Kelly, the painter, and we're looking at Carmen Herrera, which are both hard-edged painters from the 60s. And we love sort of the graphicism and the abstraction of like two colors. And it sort of reminded us of the Mercedes-Benz logo somehow. And then we had the idea of like, we printed out the Mercedes-Benz logo really big and then started kind of cutting it on paper and re-piecing it together. And we created these sort of like shapes, these kind of abstract shapes using the Mercedes-Benz logo. And it's sort of identifiable, and you have a curve and you have like a line. And it's the logo, but it's been abstracted. And that became sort of the first thing we were kind of interested in, and we made the big blankets, the big cashmere, recycled cashmere blankets, using that sort of abstracted Mercedes-Benz motif that sort of referenced American mid-century painting, which is something we always
which you
kind
can
of
kind
look
of
at.
see on those tote bags over there.
You can
as
see
well.
with the curve,
It's
but
kind of the same motif, kind of alluding to their monogram,
Yeah.
but kind of abstracting it and kind of putting it through our lens.
But that's so cool and so modern, because I don't think there are many people that have taken that Mercedes-Benz.
Well, there's a little
logo
pushback in the
apart and
beginning.
sort of,
First they were like, what are you doing?
It took them a minute to kind of get them on board
Yeah,
with the
and Mr.
idea.
I'm really taken, like, again, like that connection of your love of art and really brought it. And again, like that blanket
Yeah.
is, the print is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has this, now that you've worked with Mercedes-Benz and you've had this collaboration, are there, in hindsight, are there other pieces you're thinking like, oh, like this would be really interesting to make? Or
I mean, I definitely feel like we could have built out the collection further. I feel like there were a bunch of other ideas. There was like we're going to do a driving shoe for a second, but
Ooh, that's fun.
logistically, it just got a little complicated with timing and whatnot. But a driving shoe, I think, would make perfect sense in this collection.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to talk about the things that we didn't do.
But with every
No,
collaboration,
but I think that inspire. I think like
yeah,
the
we
part of
could've-
like the collaboration to inspire you
Totally.
to like really think beyond.
Yeah, we could have really
just-
run with this and gone. We could have done like a whole show collection around this. Like, get us on one little idea, and we're down to like just run with it and kind of push it and evolve it. And so
Amazing.
It was fun. I mean,
Oh my God,
it was,
I think-
it was like a world outside of our normal box. So it was just fun.
it happens with every collection, every collaboration, where like there's like a deadline, and you kind of do what you do, and then that deadline happens, and then you have to sort of like stop and like put that into production. But there's always a million other ideas that happen after, when like you can no longer make those things happen. That happens for shows all the time. Like, oh, we could have made that thing. That would have made that thing work even better. Like there's always
Something
ways,
to add.
something
Just
to
like
add.
opening your mind, I think, like to work with
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz is such a different way.
Yeah.
For in terms of design, that I'm sure you're like, we like all these ideas come. So that leads me to my next question. So after the next collection, where are you thinking about going? What road trip are you planning on taking?
Well, we just kind of got back from vacation. I mean, I feel like we're in the thick of it already with fall. We're
Yes.
launching pre-fall next week, or the week after. We're shooting it next week. And then we go right into fall. We just finished sketching. As you know, we've got that
Yes.
farm up in the countryside, in the Berkshires, where we go. We built a studio up there, so we go, and that's where all our kind of creative stuff happens, at least the stuff that just the two of us can do together. We just got back like 2 weeks ago we sketched all of fall, and now we're like launching it and getting the pattern makers going on chwals and picking materials, and I feel like it's all happening.
It's
and
full
fall's a
blown.
nightmare because it's such a short season.
It's such a
And
short season.
it's unfortunate because it's one of our favorite seasons because it's just like, you know, the layers.
Well, I'm in
and
one
the
of your
last fall,
dresses.
yeah.
I'm in the yak
The yak
dress, and you have so
dress.
much of this beautiful
You know
knit.
that dress is in the Met Museum right now, like the American Fashion
Really?
exhibit? That's like one of the big pieces in the show.
Well, it's also on Saks.com, which leads me to the Mercedes-Benz collaboration with collection is actually on Saks.com,
Yeah.
which we're so excited about.
Thank you guys for
Thanks for
supporting that.
supporting
So
that,
we're
for
so
sure.
thrilled. It's available and shoppable. I'm definitely going to check it out because I like having something that no one else has, and I think this collaboration with Mercedes-Benz
Yeah.
is super exclusive.
Yeah, and what's cool about this collection too, that we've never, something that feels new to us, it's unisex. And we've never really, you know, we're a women's wear brand, or have been primarily, but we're two guys, and you know, there's a lot of stuff that we pull from the women's collection we wear ourselves and whatnot. But this one is completely unisex. It's genderless, I guess. Like the totes can be worn by man or woman. Those big blankets are for home. It's like there is no gender involved in that.
T-shirts.
The t-shirts, the coat, the sweaters. It's all completely genderless, which also feels really modern and very now. And really our first time doing an entire collection that's genderless or unisex.
And I think it's also ageless. I mean, that's why we wanted to bring like Laura Dern and her son Ellery into the mix. Like, we loved the idea of like different generations, different sexes. This kind of idea of a road trip between a mother and a son is kind of an interesting storyline for us.
Very it's
yeah,
happening. I think a lot of families were road tripping this past summer.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I think this product speaks to both those kinds of people.
Yeah.
So it's interesting in that way.
And having Laura Dern be involved was such
I
a
love
nice
her.
it was a cherry on top for us, because she's, Oscar-winning actress, like one of the most iconic to us actresses out there today.
Do you chat with her Tuesday night for the
I've
party?
met her before,
You have?
actually.
Yeah. She's such
and
a sweetheart.
She's a really, really gracious woman and lady, and her daughter and my niece have the same name, so we
cute.
connected. She was
Yeah.
just very gracious.
She's so warm,
Yeah.
and she's so conscious, and she cares so much about sustainability and those issues, and she does so much work in that arena. When we asked Laura if she would be involved in, she would be open to being involved in this, she said yes immediately. And then we started talking, and she's an actress, she wants to know what the storyline is and what the backstory is. We're like, it's a road trip. I said, but I'm not going by myself. Who am I taking? We're like, well, a family member. She's like, how about my son? And it's sort of like, it became this sort of kind of conversation.
Natural evolution.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it was really cool. Like, she treated it as a movie, as a character, all of that. And we actually shot it in England because she was shooting Jurassic Park at the time. So everyone had to go to England, and we did it out there.
Yeah, shot it with Harley Weir, who's a photographer we're obsessed
love
with.
Joe
Work is
McKenna,
incredible.
which is
Ooh,
me.
that's a
Yeah,
good
it was a
team.
good
Yeah,
team.
I know.
This is a fun, creative process,
Yeah.
for
Totally.
sure.
That was fun.
Thank you, Jack and Lazaro,
Oh.
for spending time with us today and giving us a little insight and background on this collaboration.
Of course.
I can't wait to check it out.
Of
Cool.
course. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Roopal.
you.
Good to see you.